All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome to today's trade recap. Today is Monday, October 6th, 2025. I ended up making around $5,368 today, $671 across 3 MFF accounts, along with my 5 XFAs. My freaking Tradeify accounts did not copy trade today, so I'm a little bit irritated about that, but it is what it is. I'll still take it. Yeah, but without further ado, let's get right into the daily bias. Here's my STO. Let's go. So coming into this morning, I was bullish until proven wrong. ES is trading a lot lower, so I'd like to see ES sweep out London lows and possibly tap into the N dog, creating a bullish SMT while NQ trades into the bullish 1 hour for value gap, along with sweeping out the 15-minute lows marked in pink. From there, I will be seeing how price reacts off of those levels. So here's what the 4-hour chart looks like, right? This is NQ. We had London lows all the way down here, but there's no need for NQ to come all the way down here because those are lows inside of a 4-hour for value gap. So no need for London to come all the way down there. Here's what the 15-minute chart looks like. These were the 15-minute lows I was talking about, along with the hourly for value gap. And then here is the hourly chart on NQ. Before market open, we had the hourly for value gap right here, and we also had the London lows as well. Okay, so jumping onto the charts, here's my 2 trades. Like I said, I wanted to see some form of manipulation lower at market open. And then we can continue lower and lower. And I know this looks absolutely insane right now, but just give me 1 second. So at market open, we did exactly what I wanted to do, right? We came all the way down doing what? Taking out this hourly unfilled gap, and we also tapped into a 15-minute inside of the hourly. So I was like, perfect. What do we have above us? Well, there's really no unfilled gaps, but we do have this internal high right here. And we also have these market open highs. Like I said, I was pretty bullish on the day, so I wanted to see price manipulate into some sort of higher time frame PD array and see a V-shaped recovery out of it with a good clean inversion and target some form of liquidity. In this scenario, there was no unfilled gap, so I just targeted internal highs, and my final TP was going to be resting all the way up here. So what do we end up getting? Well, we got a tap into the 15-minute and the hourly, okay, along with what? At this point in time, ES is trading lower into what? Into London lows. However, even though ES probably wanted those London lows, I still entered off of this 1-minute inversion right here due to the fact that it was everything I wanted to see, right? So there we got a clean 1-minute inversion. I set a limit order at the inversion. I ended up getting tapped in around 950. Okay, my stops were at the swing lows. My break even point was now going to be these internal highs, and then my final take profit was going to be this this high right here. Okay, so as we started chopping along, what ends up happening? Well, 10 a.m. comes, and when 10 a.m. came, we ended up creating this 15-minute bearish gap. So immediately I went break even. Okay, so I was still going to hold the trade up into here, these highs at 938. However, since we did create that 15-minute bearish gap and we took out these equal highs right here, I immediately went break even, which ended up being a good play. We ended up getting stopped out at break even. And then from there, we got a 4-hour gap that ended up forming. Okay, so I was like, okay, maybe we can look for shorts onto the 4-hour gap, but I'd rather see just a tap into the gap and then we can continue higher. Well, what ended up happening? We ended up getting a bullish SMT with ES. ES ended up coming down, taking out London lows, and also tapping into that N dog that I talked about in the daily bias. Okay, so now we have a London SMT, right? We had the 15-minute for value gap, the hourly for value gap. We have an internal SMT as well, and we also got a 2-minute inversion. Now, I didn't really like this play due to the fact that there's an unfilled 4-hour that just opened up and it's going to be at or near my stop loss. So I was going to be very patient. And on top of that, we're just chopping right here anyway. So I didn't want to be trading this regardless. I took this trade, this 1 minute, because, I mean, look at the recovery, right? We come all the way down and we get a V-shaped recovery, and I set a limit order at the inversion. And then right after that, we just started chopping around, okay? So even though we got a 2-minute play right here with an internal SMT as well, this is what it looked like. I just sat hands off. I was pretty patient. And what was your targets? Well, my targets would have been right here. Again, this exact high. And then my break even was these intermediate highs inside of that 15-minute for value gap. Okay. Well, that did not end up playing out. It would have ended up being a break even play anyways. And then what ended up happening? Well, we ended up coming down and shitting the bed into what? Well, into that 4-hour gap I was just talking about. Also doing what? Creating an internal SMT again. Okay. Okay, you guys get the gist. There's a 4-hour gap right here. We ended up coming and sweeping out these intermediate lows inside of this hourly and 15-minute gap, along with filling this 4-hour unfilled gap. What do we end up getting out of it? We got a V-shaped recovery, 1-minute inversion. ES also had clear targets above, right? We had this unfilled 15-minute gap. ES came down and I believe hit equilibrium of this leg as well. Yeah, it hit equilibrium perfectly. So I was like, cool, this is a great bullish setup that is presenting itself. I'm not going to hold it towards any of these highs, right? What do we have as a take profit area? Well, we have an unfilled 5-minute gap right here for a little gap or mech model. Again, 4-hour gap, sweep of these lows inside of the hourly and 15-minute fair value gap. We have a London SMT, an internal SMT. Okay, a V-shaped recovery, 1-minute inversion. So I went ahead and entered. At this point in time, my stops were at like CE of this wick, so my stops are like all the way down here, just to let it have a little bit of breathing room, because there was no really like good areas to put your stop loss right here, right? If I put it at the body, I would have got stopped out. So I put it at CE the wick. It was a negative RR for the time being, and then as we got this bullish candle up, I ended up moving it towards or to this candle right here, so to the bottom of that wick. I assumed if we came down and revisited that, it's just bad price action. I don't even want to be in the trade anyway. Next candle almost comes and stops us out, right? Essentially, this is just chop. I was like, hurry up and get me out of this trade. And then we had a Drake to the upside all the way to the unfilled 5-minute. So that was a trade I took. I was definitely off after that because, like I said, this was just chop. We got our manipulation lower, and I was looking for the distribution higher towards this unfilled gap. We ended up getting that, but this price action overall was pretty fucking booty today. There was a question about ES. I'm going to go read it in my Discord real quick. I will be right back. So this is what the trade would have looked like on ES. It was a 10-12 mech model or gap model up and towards this unfilled 15-minute gap right here, which is this black line. So I'm going to remove this blue square. It looked very, very clean, right? So we ended up coming down and doing exactly what I wanted price to do in my daily bias, right? We ended up coming down, sweeping out London lows, creating a London SMT. We also filled this N-Dog. Not completely, but we did get a tap into it, a clear V-shaped recovery out of it. We also had an internal SMT with these lows right here, and I believe these lows as well. I don't think those lows got swept out on ES or on Nasdaq. 2-minute inversion right here. Here is the 2-minute. Now, me personally, I've learned that if we get a Drake off the inversion, price most likely isn't going to come down and visit the IFVG, but it does create a fair value gap. So I would have set a limit order at the fair value gap. I would have got tapped in with this candle right here, or this one or the other, right? And then we would have continued higher. And that's just a screen time play. I talked about that in a previous video. I think last week, we had another Drake inversion. And I knew to set it at the fair value gap instead of the IFVG because the IFVG was just way the fuck down here. And if we truly are bullish, there's no reason for price to come visit this area again. It can, but most of the time when that happens, it won't. It'll just respect this fair value gap that just formed, and then we'll continue higher. This trade was a good A+ setup. We had a 1-to-1 RR on it, and as you guys can see, it did end up hitting our take profit. There would have been no break even on this play. I don't see any break even points. If anything, it would have been this high was the break even, and that was our take profit anyway. So we would have just let this ride out. And yeah, with that being said, your stop losses can either be at this swing low right here, or as soon as you've seen price coming higher and higher and higher, you could have moved it to like this general area right here, just in case I wanted to visit this fair value gap one more time. Okay, so beautiful play on ES. Other than those 3 trades I took, I didn't see anything else, or I took 2 trades, but this trade was pretty nice as well. But other than that, I didn't really see anything. Price was essentially just chopped today. It was a no news Monday, so didn't really expect much. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comments. I do see every single comment you guys have, so I will get back to you guys and help you guys out and reply to you. All right, with that being said, I'm out of here.